United. We'll have our starting 11s and kick when we return here on Bally Sports. Week 23 of the USL Championship campaign gives us a dandy tonight at Toyota Field. It's a rematch of the 2020 USL Championship first round Western Conference quarterfinal. San Antonio FC and New Mexico United here on Bally Sports. And a pleasant good evening, everyone. Welcome upstairs to the broadcast booth, along with the coach, Tim Hankinson, and the third member of our team, Hayden Partain, down on the field. I'm Dan Weiss. Great to have you with us. Coach, San Antonio FC finally back at home after a grueling four-match road trip, but they punctuated with a huge win last Saturday night in Sacramento for their first ever victory in the California capital.
You know, Sacramento is a former championship team, outstanding talent, playing East Coast, West Coast, different time zones, 8,000 miles. The road record and the road effort that they put in was just phenomenal.
Now, Sacramento nearly had the opening goal in the first half, and then San Antonio FC was moments away from taking the lead going into the locker room. They fail there, but Courtney Ford doesn't miss the free header here, Coach.
That chip by Epps, unbelievable. And his numbers over the last 7 games, 3 goals, 2 assists. He's been pushing this attack, and that's just a great example of his finesse around the box.
It's a 1-0 win for SAFC in Sacramento, the 11th victory of the season for San Antonio. And here's how the 4 matches on the road ended up, Coach. I mean, these are all numbers you really like to see. And I have the note on the bottom, their first 3-match road winning streak in more than 4 years.
The confidence that builds in a team, even though right now we're fighting for home field advantage for the playoffs, but the confidence that builds in a team is just, it drives you the rest of the way and straight into the playoffs. Being a road team that can win and build points like that, phenomenal.
We showed you Courtney Ford. He's been a difference maker. So too has been Mitchell Tainer since his arrival to San Antonio at the end of August. Look at these numbers, Coach. I mean, Mitchell Tainer just fit on this club last year, and it's been really nice to have him back at the center back spot.
Yeah, I mean, he came in at a time that we had so many injuries. We had no consistency in the back 3 or back 4, depending on how we were playing. And he has come in and become the anchor of that defense, and we'll need that tonight against a great New Mexico team.
And it's a big matchup tonight, standings-wise, in the Mountain Division table. As we look at the numbers right now, SAFC, well, they're firmly locked in right now, sitting second, even with Colorado Springs. New Mexico, time is running out on them for a team that has a lot of experience and a lot of familiarity on their roster, Coach.
They do. I mean, you made the point as we were talking about the comparison of teams is we've got only 4 guys that played in that playoff game. And they're an important 4, right up the middle, Cardone and Tainer and PC and Gallegos. But, you know, New Mexico's got 12 players returning from that haven't forgot what it's like to come in here and win. And so we're up against a tough opponent, even though it's not reflective in the standings, but it's going to be a good one tonight.
It's Hispanic Heritage Night here tonight at Toyota Field, and it should be a fun one. Just 6 Saturdays left in the regular season before it comes to a conclusion, and this is a big one here this evening as we celebrate the Hispanic heritage across the world. San Antonio FC, New Mexico United. We'll have our starting 11s and kick when we return here on Bally Sports.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
San Antonio FC Soccer on Valley Sports is brought to you by Toyota. Go to buyatoyota.com or visit your local Toyota dealer today. It is a picture-perfect late September evening here in South Texas. We got a fun one for you. San Antonio FC and New Mexico United in a rematch of last year's playoff tilt right here in the Alamo City. We'll take a look at our starting 11s tonight. First for New Mexico, and you'll see a lot of familiar names that played in that match last season, including goal scorer Chris Weehead, who scored in the 101st minute in extra time to give New Mexico the win. For San Antonio FC, well, their lineup's been pretty consistent. No Courtney Ford tonight, though, on the back end. He did receive a red card last Saturday in Sacramento and an automatic one-match suspension. Another battle of the wits between Alan Marcina and Troy Lassane, between San Antonio and New Mexico United coach. And there's you see Mitchell Tainer. He also one of those four guys that played in that match here for SAFC, along with PC, Matt Cardoni, and Jose Gallegos.
Yeah, those four really just are part of this year's spine, you know, really right up the middle. And when the spine is strong, and that's where your leadership is coming from, with guys like PC and the maturity and growth of Gallegos, then you know, it gives you a great deal of stability, even if there are a lot of new pieces around it. It really kind of set the tone. That playoff game ends, and you've got a team like New Mexico who says, we believe in keeping everyone, so we keep 12, whereas San Antonio went a different direction and starting to, you know, put a new roster together. But as it turns out, I mean, it's worked out for San Antonio.
Our opening kick tonight brought to you by Pizza Hut. It is a beautiful 83 degrees tonight at kickoff. Light breeze out of the southeast, very little humidity. Late September soccer action as fall has set in. Darkness settles in a little bit earlier. Just makes the conditions that much more pleasant on the field for the players. San Antonio FC wearing their Viva kits tonight as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Night with the Fiesta colors running down the middle of their black kits. And New Mexico in their familiar yellow kits with the black trim. This club that last season advanced to the second round in the West semis, losing in added extra time at El Paso after winning here at Toyota Field. This is the third matchup of the season between these two clubs, and each club has taken a victory so far in the first two matchups.
Great run by Gallegos, and a lot of maturity there. The three guys starting to collapse on him. He gets set up and is able to find his teammate on the left side.
San Antonio earned a 3-0 win here at Toyota Field over New Mexico. Last time these clubs met back on July the 21st. In fact, Coach, one of the oddities of this series, this is the fifth all-time meeting, neither visiting side has scored a goal in regulation on the other's turf. New Mexico has been outscored 8-0 here in San Antonio. San Antonio has been outscored 5-0 in New Mexico.
Very interesting numbers there.
Of course, New Mexico will gladly take the lone goal that they've scored in this park in the 101st minute last year. It was the game winner from Chris Weehan. A somewhat disputed goal that they're still talking about. Did he touch it with his right hand inside the box before he put it into the back of the net?
Yeah, I remember us doing that game, and there was so much talk about New Mexico's season because they didn't have a home venue. Every game was like a road game, and yet they were a team that just didn't beat themselves. And it's going to be very interesting to see if they can turn this final third of the season into something magical.
Now, you saw the standings at the start of the broadcast. New Mexico right now sitting 6th in the Mountain Division. They're below the playoff line and below by a solid 5 points, sitting on 31 right now. They are coming off a 2-1 victory in their last match last Saturday at home over Real Monarchs SLC as Daniel Bruce tries to cross in from the right flank. Mohamed Abu defends him, and this is cleared away back out toward the center of the park. Alex Tembakis, he was the big change in the offseason. Remember, Cody Mizell was the keeper for New Mexico for the first 2 years of their club, but he signed, coach, with NYCFC of Major League Soccer back in March. Congratulations to Cody Mizell. Big loss for them, but Tembakis is a guy with tremendous USL experience. Played last season in North Carolina with NCFC in 128 all-time USL matchups. So the question is, has that been maybe their downgrade this year because Mizell was that good in the net?
Well, I think the keeper makes a big difference. I think you can have an average team and a great keeper and go very far, but having a great team but an average keeper is going to hold you back. And I think that New Mexico shows that they've got quality players, a year of experience under their belt, a playoff run. I think that is the missing piece.
Here's Moreno as he gets forward. This is Moreno's first match against San Antonio this year as he's been playing heavy minutes and a lot of international duty with El Salvador. He was on the bench when the U.S. men's national team went to El Salvador for that first match in the hexagon of World Cup qualifying, and CONCACAF did not appear, but getting his first taste at the national level. PC cuts it off his back foot. Pressure coming.
Always such an honor getting called up to your national team and representing your country, and you know, being away from your club side like this always has a bit of mixed emotion. It's always been one of the big tug of wars, loyalty to country versus loyalty to club, and I'm sure he's very excited to have been with his country, but excited to be back with New Mexico, trying to make his mark on a game like this.
After the foul, a free kick opportunity for San Antonio. Just to finish the thought on Moreno, 4 goals in his 15 appearances with New Mexico this year. Always dangerous with the ball. We highlighted him last year in the playoff match, and him and Weehan and Devin Sandoval, who is not starting tonight but is on the bench, are always formidable up top.
Yeah, Sandoval's had a couple of goals the last couple of games. He has been starting, so that was a bit of a surprise, but I don't think there's any doubt we'll see him later.
Lindley turns this one in, headed out. Gallegos picks it up. Gallegos says it's defended out, and it's off of Rashid Tete.
Like to have seen Gallegos take that first touch as a prep for a shot and shoot through the defense, you know, shoot through the numbers. So many times you got to go off deflections. The keeper can't see it. He's blinded and shielded. And but next time.
That will be a corner. No, it will not. Off of PC and awarded to Tembakis. There's a look at PC. He too played in that match here, of course, last season. San Antonio 9-1-3 this year when PC plays. His position in the lineup so vital.
Well, and you can see the adjustments tonight as Abu is back. He had a suspension because of a card. He's back in the lineup, very fresh, very energized, getting back to play, and that puts PC on the left, which when you go back to his youth days in Brazil and then coming into the NASL with the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, is he played a left back.
The flag up here on New Mexico in an offside position, and that puts Connor Maloney back on his normal right outside back position as well, too. We saw him on the left last Saturday in Sacramento. That opened the door for Mathieu Duplon, who is playing tonight, more back in his normal defensive position, but he got to play on that left side where PC is occupying tonight, and you know that opened the door for him a little bit up there. He actually played on the right side. Connor Maloney played on the left side last Saturday in Sacramento.
Interesting experiment, and that's good for a coach to know what's possible, because you never know what's going to happen in the changes of a game. But PC, again, having grown up as a Brazilian left back, coming into this more attacking left-sided role in the midfield is no problem for him. That's what Brazilians do at that position.
Bruce just inside the area. New Mexico with an aggressive start here. Bruce, he's got an open man over on the left flank in Rivas. Instead, gives it back to Yearwood. Yearwood's drive is off of Marcus Epps. And an opportunity for the first corner of the match. It belongs to New Mexico. Austin Yearwood scored his first career goal against San Antonio in New Mexico in United's 2-0 win at Isotopes Park back in the middle of June.
interesting formation to take the corner kick for New Mexico. All the players lined up at the top of the 18. Harder to mark that way because and they've all shifted now to the backside of the 6. Just changing positions, making it difficult for the defenders to find their marks.
Moreno, as was a short play from Weehan, and it was well defended there, coming back inside, in fact, by PC, who got into the thick of it there on the right side. This is Rivas.
San Antonio really needs to step up on the ball here. They're giving them too much room in your own half, giving them a chance to kind of set up their attack. And with only Nathan up top and everyone kind of sitting back on their heels, it becomes a dangerous, allowing them to advance like that. So midfielders have got to be aggressive to step up and put more pressure on the ball. Kind of force them back so we can regain that ground and start getting out of our half.
Sergio Rivas was the 26th overall pick by the San Jose Earthquakes in 2019. 8 goals in 52 USL matches last year, playing with now defunct Reno 1868. Also brought on board from RGV last year Isidro Martinez, who was their holding / number 8 midfielder, and brought him in an important role trying to shore up the middle. Also have number 23 out there tonight. That's Michael Azira, longtime Major League Soccer midfielder, last year playing with Chicago Fire, but 130 career matches in Major League Soccer for Azira.
Well, that's what we've been saying about New Mexico. Their roster is very well put together, and every player has massive USL or Major League games under their belt. And again, why it hasn't really come together probably comes down more to the goal scoring. Their goals against are basically the same as San Antonio, so it's not been that they're giving up too many goals. I think their scoring has just been inconsistent this year.
And another set piece off the foul. And again, Cam Lindley getting over the ball here. Lindley has been in the top 5 in chances created in USL all season, begins the night with 52 of them. These are the places where he's always dangerous in delivery. It'll be PC this time, whipping one in and over the head of his target, getting forward there, Deplan.
Yeah, it was a really well-clipped ball, you know, something that's not too pacey and difficult to handle, just a little bit mistiming and misdirected on the header, but well played in.
Abu. And concedes possession. Moreno pushes out wide. David Najum. And Najum will settle back. New Mexico, for all their success on the road last year as a club that did not have a home because they could not play in New Mexico due to the pandemic restrictions, have only won twice this season away from Isotopes Park in their 12 matches. And that's a good take there, but Rivas just turns it wide with the right foot there as he was looking to that far post.
Well, Moreno had a great opportunity to slide in there. I mean, the strikers have got to understand that ball is going to be flying through the 6, and you can't just wait for the ball to find you. You've got to slide in there and be aggressive to make sure that ball does not get through the 6-yard box. So I think a missed opportunity there for Moreno.
Coach, what's the mindset of a club like San Antonio, who has a successful 4-match road trip, but they've been away from home and playing in front of their home fans for so long? That first match back, does that change things a little bit after being on the road for so long?
One, I think that all the players are excited. You know, getting a chance to play on their home park, their home locker room, being back in their training facilities, everything kind of gets back to normal. But you know, you still have to find a way to generate a high level of readiness and intensity, urgency, and sometimes being at home, you relax a little bit. You feel like it's going to be easy and you're sleeping a little bit later. And whereas on the road, you know, you've got an agenda. The regimen is very exact, timeline throughout a day. So it's just different, and you would hope that it would affect them in a positive way, because you want to be great at home and you want to play great in front of the home fans to re-engage with them tonight. But sometimes it has an opposite effect. So we'll see how it plays out.
And it was a true road trip for San Antonio in their last 4 matches. They were on the road the entire 2 weeks, going from Austin to Salt Lake City to New York and eventually Sacramento to round it off. Here is a counter opportunity with Najum. Plenty of daylight getting forward, slips it into the box, and Bruce inside the defender, cuts it across the face of goal and just misses on that far post.
There again, another ball through the 6 that Moreno's in a position to lunge after, to make your body big and make sure that ball does not skip through there. And you look at his position, it's just, you know, not a strong enough effort to get after it. He's waiting for a ball to come to his feet to find him. And he's got to be aggressive and gamble and risk to lay his body out in there to make sure it doesn't go through.
And you saw it deflected partially off of Cardone's leg there, hence a corner for New Mexico. They're second, but the visitors aggressive here in the first quarter hour against San Antonio. Weehan headed out. Najum puts it down and just puts it over the bar. And again deflected, and another corner coming up.
Yeah, you got to watch Weehan. I know he's taking these kicks. He's a bit of a specialist for them. But, I mean, he is the attacking leader for this team with 7 goals and chances created. And as you mentioned, he got the goal in the playoff game. So his confidence coming into a park like this, having won the game for his team, is always going to be extra high.
And Weehan, who returned to New Mexico last month after beginning the season in Orange County, was one of those rare transfers. Weehan comes back, and then on top of coming back, signs a 2-year extension through 2023. Plays yet another short corner here that's not over the first defender. Settled in the middle of the park there by Najum, but poorly done. Gallegos is on top of the ball, and a great slide tackle from Weehan to dispossess him.
Yeah, it sounds like he went off, you know, joined another team, and maybe Lassane, the coach for New Mexico, figures, all right, we can replace him. But then they find out they really miss him. And so not only when they got him back, you know, they signed him to 2 years, and that's really in a league like this, a big commitment, and great for him. You know, great for their club to find a piece of their puzzle that they are going to make a big commitment to.
This is his 50th league appearance for New Mexico. He's got 19 goals in his 3 seasons playing, and he hit the ball inside. Moreno and turns it wide. But New Mexico right now, much more aggressive, much more creative here in the first quarter hour, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at you know, the opening 15 minutes, our possession has really been one-dimensional in getting it to Gallegos, and he's off to the races, not allowing us to build possession. And so right now we have to settle down, take the steam out of New Mexico by keeping the ball from them, make them do their work defending, and look to just get our foundation going of good possession, good football, build into their half.
There you see the early possession, 60-40 New Mexico. United, it's not a terribly effective possession team, but 49% for the season. San Antonio 45 coming into tonight, but as we showed you at the top, those possession numbers have been improving for SAFC. Most recently, 48% on the road in their 4-match trip. That's pretty good. Take 48% possession on the road any day of the week.
Yeah, I think 48, 49%, whether it's home or away, it's just saying that you've got 50% of the game at your feet, and that's going to give you an equal opportunity to get in the attack versus what we had said at you know, the pre-broadcast about our numbers early in the season, really being a struggle possession-wise, and they've made vast improvement in that way.
Lindley, as he looks in Gallegos' direction, and well played there, coming back by Azira, the midfielder. Reading Gallegos here, although a giveaway lands to Marcus Epps. Epps trying to find some support, and there was nobody in a black kit there to meet him. And another counter opportunity is Weehan on top of the ball and turns it over.
Yeah, unfortunate for Epps. I mean, he found himself trying to force a play, you know, but he was surrounded, and at that point, sometimes you've got to recognize that, pull the ball back, play it out, and let's reset the attack and hit it from a different approach rather than trying to force it. But he's really good in tight spaces, so, you know, that's where his confidence makes a decision like that for him. And hopefully he does better the next time.
As we move along here into the second quarter hour at Toyota Field, where SAFC has 5 wins against 2 defeats and 4 draws this year. Last match at home, we go all the way back to the beginning of September, Coach, on the 4th, and that was a dandy of a match as well against another club that wore yellow, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, a 1-1 finish that night. San Antonio got on the board in the second half, and it was a late goal from Alex Dixon right before stoppage time that leveled and equalized, and we finished one apiece that night.
Yeah, I really thought that was going to be a three-pointer for us. And, you know, you think about those moments in the season where you let that 3 points slip away. If we gain that 3 points, you start looking at El Paso a little differently. I mean, El Paso has given us the impression that they're just not reachable. You know, they're too far ahead. But you pick up the full points that night, and now you get into these games here. You never know how you can end up by the time all the matches are in. So
Lindley, as he looks in PC's direction, Lindley will try the opposite field. Epps, service into the box. Maloney! Oh, rare opportunity for Connor Maloney to get forward. He's got a free header inside the box there, but Tembakis is inside for the save.
But this is what we were just saying, is take time to build up a little bit, get your possession going, and as it turns out, there was a very patient approach to things, and it created a very mature opportunity on the header. A lot of players in the box, if there had been a knockdown, where the keeper only gets an open hand to it, leaving a loose ball in the box, very good opportunity for us to capitalize on that. So good possession, patience, you know, you're going to create good chances, not always about running off to the races every time.
50th career league game for Connor Maloney, now in his 5th season out of Penn State. Still looking for that first goal. Not a goal scorer, but that's about as good an opportunity as he's going to find in a match, as he got inside the 18-yard box with a little bit of space and a chance to get a header off.
Yeah, he is not the attacking machine, but he is a machine. I mean,
he is a machine.
his work ethic, his engine to get up and down that sideline, especially when you don't have a natural right back covering you, his ability to go flag to flag is almost unequal in this league.
His absence in the first 11 matches or 12 matches of the season for San Antonio just, I thought, so vital, missing him running up and down on that far stick.
His work ethic just helps every player around him. And, when you don't have that, the game becomes more difficult for all those players. So it's great to see him back.
Rivas was defended there by Lindley. Moreno, good ball here. And dispossessed coming back inside was Andrew Tenario, though it's a recovery here for New Mexico. Najum clips one in. Moreno turns it on, and Cardoni is there to come down with it. But boy, Moreno has gotten plenty of space here so far, Coach, in the first half.
I mean, that's as high a difficulty of a volley as you can. Coming over, you know, the back of your right shoulder, you're running away from goal. You're going to have to not just find that volley coming down to you, but you're not able to get a good look at the goal. I mean, it's a very difficult shot, and you know, he didn't quite get all of it, but just shows the talent level he's got.
Second season in New Mexico for Armando Moreno, who grew up in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. And this will be a handball on Nathan. 20 goals for Moreno in his 57 USL matches. Actually, will whistle an offside. Center referee tonight, Elton Garcia, as he works alongside his assistants Kevin Locke and Matt Trotter. Devlin Creighton is the 4th official for this match tonight, is assigned by the USL. There's a look at Elton Garcia, who gets a lot of the matches here at Toyota Field.
I was pleased with Nathan's run. Even though it's an offside, it's okay to get called. It means you're testing that line, you're stretching the game, you're making those defenders make decisions as to whether to hold and let you run offside or whether they're going to have to track you. And so it's good to test those defenders early. I think, again, they'll continue to stretch that defense, which is going to give the midfield a lot more space to work with.
Second. A foul here on Tainer.
Tainer's definitely playing Bruce tight. I mean, he knows he's an outstanding wide player. And there's no reason to give him time to receive a ball, turn, and have a run at the defense. So well done by Tanner.
Yearwood. So switch it back to Rashid Tete. Tete, Yearwood, Ryden. They were all in the match last October the 10th here at Toyota Field. Ryden now in possession. Big center back, Kalen Ryden. Sending it forward. He was looking in Daniel Bruce's direction. Bruce couldn't escape the big sweet Axel Schuberg. That's a tough challenge for anyone going up against the 6'7" center back there.
Yeah, it's definitely not a game you want to get into an aerial battle with.
Riding over Marcus Epps. And settled here. Tanari. Rivas. Off the head of Tainer. Bruce with the settle over to Najum. And back to Azira. Azira looking in Daniel Bruce's direction. Gonna fight off Tainer, and Tainer keeps it alive there. And then Tainer foul by Daniel Bruce. Coach, here's what we were talking about before in terms of the players that are returning from last year's Western Conference quarterfinal. 4 for San Antonio that played in that game, 12 for New Mexico that appeared in that game last October the 10th.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Coach Marcina and the organization must have really felt losing that playoff game meant reconstructing the roster. And it's a little bit of an oddity because in reality, their overall season was as good as any overall season that we've seen in the league. It was just an unlucky night for them. But New Mexico, having won there and also having had a whole season on the road and making the playoffs, which under normal circumstances, a team doesn't get to the playoffs with all of their games being away games. But they felt this group was a group worth saving, and I would have probably made the same decisions if I'm at New Mexico, and it just has not turned out to be as ambitious a squad as they had last year. And sometimes that's a hunger factor, and where they've just not reached the same level of motivation. You know, maybe they get a little bit comfortable with how things went that year. Sometimes a coach is put under pressure because it's the same voice for a second year in a row. Coach Lassane, very good coach, and but this is I believe his first head coaching job last year and into this year. So there are challenges to how do you keep a group of not high school kids, not club players, but professional men, highly motivated, working at their craft and working together.
One thing we can say about Troy Lassane, who is in his third year as head coach in New Mexico, is always the best dressed coach in the league.
No
Goes
question.
Full suit.
No question. We're not talking.
There you see him, tie. He dresses the part, coach.
And we're not talking Goodwill. We're talking. Yeah, very classy guy. It's the attire of Charleston, South Carolina, where he coached the College of Charleston and Charleston Battery. Very, very debonair.
Did you ever go full suit on the bench?
In Major League, there was a period that the league was encouraging the dress code for coaches to lift to a different level. And my very first game was in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl against the Dallas Burn, and it was 105 at field level. And the announcers asked me, I was at field level after the game, we won 1-0, what it felt like in that heat to be wearing a tie, and I pulled that tie up like I was hanging myself. So the tie thing didn't last too long.
Didn't last long.
No.
Okay. I guess the benefit is you played half your season in Denver, where
well, at that time it was Tampa.
Oh, it was Tampa.
It was
that's
the
true. Yeah.
One of the original teams,
That's true,
Tampa Bay
yeah.
Mutiny. So we were used to the heat, but we came out of the airport in Dallas and said we're not going to the field of practice. Head straight to the hotel, and we're finding a ballroom. We're going to play 5v2 on the carpet. And but we were fresh the next night and had a great game against Dallas.
Well, nearly a half hour through this one, and possession still 60-40 New Mexico here. United, who's gotten out on the front foot in San Antonio tonight after really having no success just a couple of months ago here, where they got shellacked in a national televised match 3-0. Jose Gallegos scored a dandy to cap that one off in stoppage time. But they've, coach, already got 6 shots in this match. Granted, none of them have been on target to this point, but they've come out again as the aggressor here so far in the first half.
Well, and things that don't show statistically in the shot column is they've had 3 balls who have been driven through the side of the 6th and all the way in front of the goal mouth that nobody got on the end of. And those are as dangerous balls as a shot itself, you know. And I blame the attacking players in the box for not being aggressive to read that and go, you know, sliding in to be more aggressive to get on the end of those. So there have been a lot of not just shots but approaches around the box that make New Mexico the more dangerous team this first half.
Tembakis will get rid of this one here momentarily. 28-year-old from Athens. Big shoes to fill in the absence of El Gato Amarillo. Cody Mizell. El Gato Azul, I believe, is actually what he was because he wore the blue. As Nathan is dropped, and will we get a caution here from Elton Garcia? We will. The Rashid Tete will go into the books here in the 29th minute.
Yeah, an appropriate card. I mean, he got shouldered hard. He went down like a brick. But Nathan's tough. You know, that's life of a striker, is you're going to get those center backs wrestling you and playing you physically.
Third caution of the season on Tete. Nathan, who has been on quite the run, although he's cooled off a little bit here as of late. At one point was 7 goals in 7 matches. Now just 1 here over his last 6.
We need to schedule another exhibition against the Mexican team.
He's got a chance here running in. Gallegos and Maloney also on the end of that trying to find something. And PC unable to keep this one in play.
Yeah, it was against those Mexican teams that he started to find his game. And has had a great run, and I'm sure he'll find the back of the net very shortly in the next couple of matches, hopefully tonight.
Some encouraging news for San Antonio FC on the injury front, as you see Alan Marcina looking on from the bench. Sam Glidel and Santiago Patino are the only 2 players who are out tonight, which means Jasser Kamiri is available. He's been missed here for the last few weeks with a lower body injury. Sam Glidel went through a full workout before tonight's match, and he could be ready to return as soon as next week. And then Santiago Patino, who's been missing because of that stress fracture in his foot since the end of June, finally got the boot off, coach, and so he's getting closer to a return. The question will be is how Alan Marcino will use Santi, who of course was so dynamic in the beginning portion of the season. 5 goals in the first 4 matches of the campaign, including that hat trick on opening night against Colorado Springs. Where his role will be, well, wherever it is, will certainly be a welcome addition.
Yeah, I'm sure that we are a month away from seeing him because when you've had a boot on that long.
Tanari, and blocked.
When you've had a boot on that long, there's going to be atrophy. You've got to not just get over rebuilding that leg from a muscular standpoint, but you've got to get your fitness back to a very, very high level, not general fitness, high level fitness. And then your game has got to get sharp again, your general game, and then the sharpness of, once again, being able to slow the game down in front of goal to become a goal scorer. So he's got a few steps to really, before we can expect him to be back in form.
Weehan balloons one to the back post, and DePlom will head that one away. Najum will let it ride out for a throw.
But I think the timing is interesting because as we come down to, you know, the final number of games of the season, he's got enough time to get there. And depending on what Nathan, depending on what Dylan's doing, you know, who are kind of the 2 options right now at that center forward position, if they're not in that, you know, scoring column, if they've, you know, gone a little bit flat, then Patino picks the right moment to come in and suddenly lift the scoring. And at that point in the year, you're starting to talk playoff games and a run at a championship. And he becomes the hero of the season.
Weehan inside the box. Weehan just over goal. Was it deflected out? It was not. But again, it's a New Mexico opportunity inside the box. That's gone awry here. And, well, the visitors, if they don't get to the locker room with one on the board, they're going to be kicking themselves here at halftime.
That's where those long legs of Soberg come in. You know, we really had a great setup to put a ball on frame to pick out his corner. And, you know, you look at Soberg suddenly stretching out 6'7" body that suddenly didn't allow him to find, you know, the angle that you needed to find a goal. It was, great effort by Soberg there.
New Mexico tonight, Coach, strikes me as a team that's playing desperate soccer, which they should be, sitting below the playoff line, 31 points. They need 3, and they're playing like a team that knows they need 3 here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously we don't have the math in front of us to say what is the magic number to, you know, be completely out of a playoff position. But you have to be coming into a game like this as coaches, as players, saying this is a must-win. You know, if we have any chance to get above that playoff line, we have to win tonight. So it's a difficult spot for them to be in because that just ranks up the pressure.
PC volleys it across, Gallegos! And this one deflects off the defender and will settle on the far side over to Azira, who's able to release it.
What
a little bit of a chaotic sequence there inside the box.
Yeah, what an intelligent play by PC. I mean, so many guys will play a ball, you know, across the goal mouth hoping that they get a goal. But he laid it back and knew where everyone was, and just great technique, so it wasn't overhit.
Good ball by Abu out wide. Balloons to Epps, puts it on frame. Great save from Tembakis, his best so far.
You know, as far as direct chances on goal, this is as exciting a half as we've seen in a long time. Both teams getting chances now. And we're not talking average chances. These are on frame, in front of net, 6-yard box type stuff.
Good little push for San Antonio here.
It's almost hard to believe that we don't have goals at this point.
Epps. PC, is he in an offside position? He is. Flag is up.
Great run, and we were talking about the assist that Epps had in the last game. That little floater, he's got tremendous technique in being able to lift a ball and have it float in the air for someone like PC just then.
Here's that last opportunity for Marcus Epps and a great reactionary save from Tembakis.
Well, as I said, he's been producing goals, been producing assists. You know, he's starting to show right place, right time. You know, he's looking to be the goal getter tonight. It's great to see.
5 goals this season for Marcus Epps and 24 appearances with SAFC in his first year. Former second-round pick by Philadelphia Union in 2017. This is his 97th career league match in USL play. 17 goals for Marcus Epps. Here's Moreno. Can't get on the end of that delivery from Weehan. Schuberg glides it out over to Connor Maloney. Abu dispossessed. Moreno sequencing there with Rivas. Fouled from, no, they let him play on. And then Bruce tries to give that one a go and instead blocked outside the box. Tenari down on the ball, lands back to Moreno. Edge of the box and rolls one off the defender that Cardoni scoops up rather cleanly.
I think we're very lucky that Abu didn't get called. I mean, he committed 2 fouls running into players, so very fortunate for him, especially with those fouls taking place right at the top of the box.
Appeared to be what I thought the first one was going to be a sure foul as Gallegos works away from the defender. Nathan cuts it back, but there's not a black kit running on the end of it to find it. Tainer now. As he looks in Epps' direction. Tete runs him off the ball. And Najum ahead to Moreno. We'll talk about Weehan being the engine coach, but I think Moreno really becomes as an important character for New Mexico in that department too.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, every time he's around the ball, he's dangerous. And very quick with his back to goal to turn, and that can catch defenders, no question. I think that Wayan is very good at running at a defense from different angles. But I mean, it's a 1-2 punch. I mean, I feel like our attack, between Epps, Nathan, and Gallegos, we're kind of a three-prong. We can hit you from a few areas. And with New Mexico, I feel like it's really those two, Wayan and Moreno, that are their focal points, and that makes it a little bit easier for our defense to know who to concentrate the markings on and who to give help to make sure that we can double up those kind of players.
Schuberg in the books in the 38th minute with his third caution. Weehan service and airmails it over Rivas.
Like a little miscommunication there. Didn't quite have the run ready to get in behind when that ball was floated in.
Weehan, Rookie of the Year in the USL in 2017. All first team too, led the league in assists that season. From Southern California. He saw his brother Charlie Weehan, now plays for Real Monarchs SLC.
Painter again doing a good job of stepping up, not taking steps back, but being the more aggressive defender, not just in challenging New Mexico with the ball, but even in interceptions like that.
Garcia allows San Antonio to play the advantage. Mohamed Abu switching the play over to Epps. Rivas defending Epps. Epps clips it across the face of goal. Gallegos, heavy touch, settles back, can't get it through the last line of defense. It should be off of Bruce and a throw for San Antonio, and it will be.
And again, we see the quality of the cross by Epps, And normally he's in the side of the 18 to clip these little balls. That was very deep towards the flag, and real quality right in the accurate area and the dangerous area.
"40 minutes in the books here in Toyota Field on this final Saturday in September. 0-0 SAFC and New Mexico United in a rematch of the 2020 Western Conference quarterfinals. It's a brilliant match that was played here. Two teams, a really massive chess match. SAFC, a lot of people forget, could have won that game in regulation time. Liam Doyle, a goal that was waved off in the second half, called for a foul, hands on the back of the defender in that sequence off a set piece.
Well, I think if my memory serves me, New Mexico came in with a very clear plan as to how they play on the road, having had so many road games, and it was a game of patience the first half, kind of sitting back and not overcommitting, just keeping themselves in a position to win, and as it turns out, it worked out for them. Tonight, completely opposite. They're desperate to win, and it's all about high pressure and overcommitting players. As a matter of fact, it may be the counterattack that opens the door for San Antonio because New Mexico overcommits their players forward, leaving that back door open.
Well, the back door was open there, but Epps was offside. And yeah, very high press tonight from New Mexico. Again, aggressive. Don't often see that from a visiting team, especially coming into Toyota Field. A lot of visiting clubs like to, sit back and try to earn their one. That's not been the case for New Mexico tonight. Nathan stops on a dime. Gallegos pushes it out wide. PC, corner of the box, looking for the runner, and defended over to Ryden, who flicks it along, and PC will keep it alive. Gallegos, Epps. Maloney, again, a free header for Connor Maloney, and this one turned off frame.
He likes that spot, no question. I mean, he needs to get that referee paint out and draw a circle right there for that spot for his headers.
Connor Maloney only came in with 3 shots all season. Almost doubled that here in the first half tonight.
Trying to make his mark back within the team.
Epps off that back foot, Tenari. This is volleyed back from Najim to Tembakis.
Seems to me there are a number of physical contacts against both teams where the call is just not being made. And you know, Dan, we talked about this the last game. See what Nathan does with this.
Tete forces him out wide. It allows New Mexico to get back behind the ball. Maloney, Weehan stride for stride with him there. Moreno, upended over there by Duplan.
What we were saying last game where, you know, calls were not being made. There should have been issued some cards early. And how the problem is when you don't control those moments early in the game, it starts to frustrate players, and players start to take advantage of it, feeling they can get away with it, and how it can crescendo towards the end of the game. And that's kind of what we saw at the end of that game. And I kind of put that on, you know, the fact that the referee had not, you know, made those calls early and pull the cards to keep things under control. So I see some fouls tonight that remind me a little bit of that, and hopefully start of the second half will come out, you know, making sure that that whistle is ready and the cards are available to control circumstance so we don't have a heated finish like we did last game.
After San Antonio had put Sacramento to bed in stoppage time, the altercation unfortunately has Courtney Ford serving a one-match suspension tonight for receiving a red card. It's unfortunate because Courtney Ford, along with Mitchell Tainer, have been so vital since coming to the club at the end of August.
They've been saviors because, again, with the injuries to defenders, there was never any continuity or consistency with who's playing in the back tonight. And Ford and Tainter really have been great.
Epps stops. Epps. Epps! Oh, off the woodwork and right back to Tembakis. Wow. He gets another quality chance here at the end of the half and just rings the woodwork on the far side. And what a bounce back.
That keeper's a lucky man tonight.
And coach, something we don't see very often, they put up a 0 for added time at the end of the first half, even though we're 20 seconds beyond the 45.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, we've not had substitutions, haven't had a goal. There's really been no stoppage of play for injuries or disciplinary actions. So why not? Let's get to the locker room and get the game plan adjusted to come out here and pick up where we left off, which in the last 15 minutes, some great attacks and what should be for probably both teams a goal in the bank before halftime.
We'll do just that. Connor Maloney, Marcus Epps with some great chances there in the first half. New Mexico got some too from Moreno and Weehan as well, but we're 0-0 through 45 minutes here at Toyota Field on Hispanic Heritage Night on Bally Sports.
Mi herencia para mí es muy importante porque es una cultura para mí muy bonita. Me hace sentir en casa estar con gente que es casi igual a mi cultura, que es argentina, que es uruguaya, porque somos muy abiertos y nos gusta platicar y todo.
My heritage is important to me because it kind of resembles like who I've become as a person. In terms of food, I mean, who doesn't like Hispanic foods?
Pozole is a big one. There's enchiladas, menudo. There's just too many for me to choose from. But
comemos empanada, comemos asado, se come locro, que es muy rico, el de mi abuela es muy rico.
I think it brings us more together to understand each other more, celebrate with each other.
I don't have any. I don't hear anything like
Throughout the world. 0-0 at the half here at Toyota Field. San Antonio FC and New Mexico United. And on this Hispanic Heritage Night, as we celebrate the rich Hispanic culture, not only here in San Antonio, but across the world, it always oftentimes comes back to the culinary aspect. And some of the SAFC players reflecting in some of their favorite culinary moments growing up.
Mi herencia para mí es muy importante porque es una cultura para mí muy bonita. Me hace sentir en casa estar con gente que es casi igual a mi cultura, que es argentina, que es uruguaya, porque somos muy abiertos y nos gusta platicar y todo.
My heritage is important to me because it kind of resembles like who I've become as a person. In terms of food, I mean, who doesn't like Hispanic foods?
Pozole is a big one. Enchiladas, menudo. There's just too many for me to choose from. But
comemos empanada, comemos asado, se come locro, que es muy rico, el de mi abuela es muy rico.
I think it brings us more together to understand each other more, celebrate with each other.
Se juntan en familia o en amigos a hacer guitarreadas, está muy bueno, es algo lindo para compartir.
It's just a beautiful thing. Different nations coming together to create this Hispanic culture, and so my Hispanic heritage just means a lot to me.
It's a beautiful thing indeed. Scoreless at the half, San Antonio, New Mexico. Tim rejoins me. We'll take a look at highlights and numbers when we return after this. 0-0 at the half here at Toyota Field in this 23rd week of the USL Championship campaign on the final Saturday of September. So we welcome you back upstairs to the broadcast booth. Coach Tim Hankinson, I'm Dan Weiss. Not for lack of effort, Coach, that we don't have any goals here. Both sides are really performing well, getting out on their front foot. And we could have 3 or 4 here at the end of the half, which I think bodes well, hopefully, for a lot in the second half.
I think we will see goals in the second half. This is not a one-goal game. It's both teams creating tremendous chances. I mean, you look at San Antonio, who maybe in the first 20 minutes was not creating direct chances, but Maloney's had 2 direct headers. Epps header, our wide play to be able to chip balls in from PC, and Epps has been tremendous.
Show you the highlights from that opening half and a couple of early opportunities for San Antonio. They didn't have much offset pieces. As you were talking about, first 20 minutes were maybe not SAFC's best coming back from a 4-match road trip, but man, they picked it up there in that last 15 minutes.
They did. It looked great, and we really should have had goals in the first half. But, you know, that's also looking at New Mexico. Even though they reflect in the statistics 10 shots, the fact is they had 3 or 4 balls through the 6-yard box. It could have easily been slipped in. So both teams creating great chances.
This was right before the end of the half there. Marcus Epps drills it off the woodwork and a friendly bounce back to the keeper, Tembakis. We take a look at the numbers from the first half. And New Mexico doubles up on the shots. A lot of those off target, though. And SAFC really fought back in terms of gaining the possession there in the last quarter hour.
This has been an improving part of their game. You saw in the first 20 minutes is when they would win a ball in their own half, they were off to the races, and usually it was a one-man show like Gallegos. Then things settled down, started to build chances, keep the possession, make New Mexico defend more, and really turned out to create some great chances before the half.
My guess is that both coaches like the way their 11-man units are playing right now. Does this become a night where subs, especially since both clubs have been off the entire week, might be few and far between?
I think you've got 2 big men, one on each team. Sandoval for New Mexico is clearly, I mean, he's played in Major League, he's gotten goals at all levels, and he's a physical kind of player. And then you've got Dylan, who plays really in a very similar way. But I like what Nathan's doing tonight. He's making those slashing runs, even though there are 4 offsides at this point. I think that's saying we're testing the back of their defense, and as they push up New Mexico to try and get that goal, taking more risk, having more desperation in their game, I think that back door is going to be open for a counterattack type run from someone like Nathan.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Second half coming up here in just a little bit. 0-0, San Antonio, New Mexico. After 45, more halftime coming up after this.
Mi herencia para mí es muy importante porque es una cultura para mí muy bonita. Porque somos muy abiertos y nos gusta platicar y todo.
My heritage is important to me because it kind of resembles like who I've become as a person in terms.
There's just too many for me to choose from. But
Comemos empanada, comemos asado, se come locro, que es muy rico, el de mi abuela es muy rico.
I think it brings us more together to understand each other more, celebrate with.
Halftime, 0-0, San Antonio FC and New Mexico United. here at Toyota Field as we take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard in the Mountain Division here this evening. See, Wednesday night, El Paso Locomotive gave up one at the death to Austin 2-2, but tonight Austin in the second half trailing on the road at Colorado Springs 2-1. It has been a tough second half of the year for RGV as they are trailing at home to Atlanta United 2 in an interconference battle this evening. Real Monarchs and New York Red Bulls 2 will play tomorrow. And one match I want to give mention to, Coach, Tampa Bay Rowdies. Their shutout streak ended at 893 minutes tonight. Hartford scored in stoppage time in the second half, but Tampa Bay wins 2-1. Second half coming up on the other side. San Antonio, New Mexico, here on Bally Sports. San Antonio FC Soccer on Bally Sports is brought to you by Toyota. Go to buyatoyota.com or visit your local Toyota dealer today. Before we get started here in the second half, let's send it down to the third member of our team. He's down on the field, Hayden Partain.
Thanks, Dan. It's been a very eventful first half despite the 0-0 scoreline. Both teams have had good spell of possession and interchange, and created both of them have created great chances. Looking forward to the second half to see who's going to be able to put away the first chance.
A far cry, Hayden, from what we saw last year in the first half between these sides in the Western Conference quarterfinal match, as both teams aggressive at different stages of the half. Coach, it was New Mexico in the first half hour really having the better of the chances, and the San Antonio came to life in that last quarter hour.
Yeah, no question about it. And we were talking earlier towards the end of the first half how New Mexico in the playoffs last year was a road team, and they sat back patiently just keeping themselves in a position to win. But in this game, completely different. This is a must-win for them to keep playoff hopes alive, and so they've been very aggressive to pressure and attack and go at goals. So exciting football.
On the live table right now, the Mountain Division has New Mexico sitting on 32 points, 4 back of Austin Bold, who is holding that last playoff spot. Austin losing tonight in Colorado Springs 2-1. If that line were to hold and this line were to hold, San Antonio would slip back to third in the table. And, of course, it just feels like we're going to see a San Antonio-Colorado Springs first round matchup. Just a question of where it's going to be, either here or in Colorado.
Well, I mean, I think, you have to focus on the game at hand, what's in front of you, for what it's worth and not overthink things. But in reality, this is about trying to position yourself to get the home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs. And so every point counts, and trying to hold that position. It may not change the opponent in the end, as you said, with Colorado, but you're not having to go there and deal with altitude. And again, you are sitting at home with your home fans excited about the playoff opportunity.
San Antonio has never played a road playoff match in their 6-year history. All 3 playoff matches have been at Toyota Field. A victory over Tulsa in 2017, followed by a loss in penalties the following week to Oklahoma City. And then, of course, as we've been drawing on it all night. Last year, 1-0 defeat and added extra time to New Mexico United.
Dan, are you saying that we should play on the road?
I'm just saying. I mean, I don't want it because we don't get to call it. An offside run there for New Mexico.
Well, I believe the last time we went to Colorado, we had never won there before, and we get that first road win in Colorado. So either way, the team's going to have confidence to play well, home or away.
Some big news for Colorado Springs earlier this week. Mishi Galina, who's had a wonderful season up top with Haji Berry, who's the Golden Boot leader coming into this week, 23 goals on the season. But Galina was bought out from his contract by LAFC of Major League Soccer, and what is believed to be the largest buyout of a USL contract in the history of USL Championship from a Major League Soccer franchise.
I can tell you, because I've been around so long, that's an amazing accomplishment for a Major League to finally bend and say, we're willing to write the check for a USL player at that level. And that's very exciting and gives not just players, that optimism that there's upward movement if you're playing in the USL, but it also gives clubs development system, just like we're seeing with SAFC. It's about developing players, because eventually that is an investment in their ability to get transferred, bringing in a new injection of funds into the club that help build the program.
What Brendan Burke has done in Colorado Springs in this first year has been nothing short of unbelievable. A team that really, unfortunately, has been a doormat in USL for the last few seasons. They haven't made the playoffs since going back to 2016. And Brendan Burke coming over from the Philadelphia Union system, Philadelphia Union 2, along with Bethlehem Steel. He has done a fantastic job in building a culture there in such a short amount of time.
He has, and you go back to the very first game on our schedule, and this is the night that Patino, everything he touches goes in the back of the net with a hat trick, and that's against Colorado. And Colorado that night looked like they just were not going to be able to compete this year. And so to keep faith and the plan in place, and get through the tough stretch early on and make it a great second half of the season to put themselves in either a second or third spot is really hats off to them.
And it all coincided, of course, with the opening of the brand new Widener Field in downtown Colorado Springs, which is truly one of the gems right now in USL Championship. Really some fantastic soccer-specific stadiums that are going up all up and down across the league.
I know. I mean, you go back to Columbus Crew being really the first of that soccer-specific, and MLS teams. That became the new business plan, the formula of success. You needed to own your own venue, and then we had what they referred to as the Cathedral, which was the Home Depot Center for the LA Galaxy, and the stadiums just kept growing. And now to see it happen on the USL level is a phenomenal piece of building this sport in this country.
There's a giveaway there from Weehan. Nathan, as he runs on the defender, gives it a go, and was that deflected out? It was, or it was not. Looked for a moment that the defender Ryden got a piece of it on its way to the net, but wide on its own merit.
Yeah, and Dan, to finish up with Colorado, they're like, we have heat. We have massive Texas, hot as heck type of heat down here that teams from around the country that aren't used to that becomes a big advantage. And for Colorado, in Colorado Springs, where you're dealing with the mile-high effect of altitude. And I remember having been the coach of Colorado Rapids in our stadium. The electric scoreboards have 5280, 5280, can't breathe, all over the place all game, trying to get in the heads of our opponents. And if you're a team that can possess the ball and get that first goal, and then just keep the ball and make the opponent chase, usually the 70th minute, the opponent was starting to slow drastically. So big advantage for Colorado if they can take advantage of it.
Devin Sandoval, coach, you pointed out at the half, will come on in the 51st minute here.
Well, Dan, he played for San Francisco Deltas when I was coaching in Indy, and I've made the point before that that when you go up for a header, when an opponent goes up for a header, and you don't, that he's showing greater desire. That example, philosophically, of showing desire or lack of is specific to Sandoval because it was in that game at San Francisco. The Sandoval goes up and my defender does not. And that became a real backbone philosophy for me in working with my future teams because of his effort on that night. So hopefully he doesn't have the desire he had that night, but he's definitely a physically aggressive player and will be a handful for our defenders.
23rd appearance for Sandoval, and Hayden Partain, he's got a different look this year about him.
Yeah, he's probably a little quicker now. He doesn't have his dreads anymore. Just to touch on Tim's point, he's probably going to be a handful, so we'll see how Axel and Mitch handle that.
No dreads, but a full stash going.
He's got a good look. Something new, something different.
4 goals this season. New Mexico's all-time leader in games played, his 68th appearance. 21 goals with New Mexico in his 3rd year with the club.
Well, he was such an important first signing, too, because his home is New Mexico.
Albuquerque native, his 30th, or his 9th season, now 30 years of age overall. There'll be a throw here for New Mexico. So Sandoval on as the first sub, and again, that was kind of my question as SAFC subs you can see over there in the background getting loose here in the second half. This is a well-played first half from both sides. How many subs will we see from either side here in the second half, with both teams having a normal week, really for the first time for San Antonio in quite some time, having a full week off?
Yeah, I think that Coach Marcin has been very patient with this subbing this year. I mean, eventually he will make the change up top. First, maybe adding a player like Dylan and letting him play for a short period of time with Nathan to see if that sparks. But eventually, Dylan kind of running it by himself up there. So Sandoval is a normal starter for New Mexico. So the fact that he didn't start says they're just saving him for the second half to work against tired defenders and see if he can do damage under those circumstances.
We'll see their impressive 3-prong attack now with Weehan and Moreno joining Sandoval up top. New Mexico with a throw as we cross into the 55th minute, and so far at least out of the half, 10 minutes in the books, and either side is to get off much in the way of a chance.
Yeah, I think we had the one with Nathan. He hit from distance, but not on frame.
Gallegos taking a run. Tembakis off his line. Tembakis so far with the best save. That was on the header from Epps in the first half, and then saved by his equipment, so to speak, the woodwork at the end of the first half. When it went off the bar from Epps and then directly back to the keeper. He put his clamps on it before any damage was done.
I'm surprised he didn't hug that post before he went into halftime. It's the game of probability of how a ball bounces. I mean, it's a great example. I mean, you're dealing with a round post, and it could a fraction one way or the other, and the ball could go in or be a loose ball inside the 6, and to have it go right back to him, just a crazy play of the bounce.
Too heavy with that delivery from Sandoval as he was looking in Moreno's direction. Sandoval touched on his Major League Soccer experience, 7 goals in 58 Major League Soccer matches. Here was Marcus Epps from the first half. Service to Connor Maloney as he turned that one wide.
Connor just has to do better with those. Because in both cases, both of his headers were basically from the same spot, same type of service. The service is not overstruck, so it is a ball you can deal with. But in either case, was he marked or pressured? And we've just got to do a better job technically in getting that ball on frame.
You saw Epps there hitting the bar right before the end of the half. These two sides will see each other one final time. It'll be at Isotopes Park. Again, a place where San Antonio has neither won nor scored at in their 2 visits so far. Outscored 5-0 in the 2 visits at Isotopes Park, while San Antonio has outscored New Mexico 8-0 in the 2 matches that have been played here. One of those, the first season, a 5-0 win for San Antonio, which is their largest win in club history. Christian Perano, 2 goals that night.
We got to start a segment. Where are they now? It'd be interesting to see where Perano is, how he's doing, and since he's left the club.
In Portugal. We've, of course, seen some former SAFC players dotted across USL. Lucho Soliniak, who resides in El Paso. We've seen him a couple of times here. Josh Yarrow in San Diego with the Loyal this season, and San Diego's making a nice little push there in the Pacific Division, getting above the playoff line, and well, no surprise, Yarrow is amongst the leader in clearances in USL again this season.
Right. Well, and San Diego's a great story because in their inaugural year last year, and of course with the heralded national team player coaching for the first time in Landon Donovan, they really were kind of a bottom dweller and a team you kind of expected so much more of. But being a national player doesn't mean that translates into wins. We're seeing that in Las Vegas with Trinunalo, you know, in his first coaching opportunity is one of the most capped players in American history, but it just has not translated into the winning column for that. But San Diego this year, whole different look and a lot of wins and headed to the playoffs. So exciting team to watch.
37 points for San Diego. They're second in the Pacific table beginning play tonight. Nobody's catching Phoenix again this year. The rising coach, unbelievable. 16 wins, just 3 defeats, 5 draws, 53 points, running away with the Western Conference again here as we come to the end of September.
Yeah, we always know playoffs turn everything upside down.
Look at
but
this.
You look at Tampa and you look at Phoenix and you say, well, let's just get that game done, you know. Both are so dominant in areas of their game.
I mean, San Antonio comes into tonight, and they've had a good season. They're +9 in goal differential. Phoenix is +31 in goal differential.
It's phenomenal. Well, they've made an enormous investment in players, and that's so often what it takes. I mean, I mentioned, you know, Las Vegas, for example, but Las Vegas, whether it was Ronaldo there or Fernando, they've struggled to put the right roster together, and that can have to do with budget. It can have to do with player selection. But
Moreno's bid is blocked.
But you've got to get the roster right. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Is if the roster isn't put together correctly with the quality of players, but also the right combination of players, then it doesn't matter who's coaching the team at that point.
Well, Tampa Bay wins again tonight. They saw their league record shutout streak end at 893 minutes in stoppage time in the second half by Hartford, but they do get the W, winning 2-1 tonight. Their 18th win of the season. They're +26, so 55 for Tampa Bay. Phoenix sitting on 53. Those two clubs were going to meet in the USL Championship final a year ago before COVID-19 ruined that matchup. And again, will we see that again to be the final this year? El Paso may have something to say about that. Of course, even these two clubs playing tonight may have something to say about that. San Antonio could be a club that, despite not historically having tremendous playoff success, may have the club this year that is built for a longer playoff run.
Yeah, Dan, I'm a big believer. It's about momentum. It's about peaking at the right time. I go back to the very first MLS Cup, 1996. DC United struggles to make the playoffs. They have a 500 record, but they sneak in and they suddenly hit stride and go all the way to the championship game against LA Galaxy, who had been the dominant team that year, and wins the game coming from behind to win the very first MLS Cup. So it's about peaking, and I definitely believe that we've got the right pieces. It's just a matter of, you know, these final 4 or 5 games start to build and continue to build the momentum that we showed on the road.
And one thing about El Paso, you're just talking about momentum. Their momentum has stalled out a little bit here as conversation in the middle of the park. They lose in San Antonio in a late winner from Justin Dillon. They give up all 3 at home. A chance to get all 3. They settle for 1 earlier this week against Austin, who scores at the death. So they're sputtering a little bit. And let's be frank, El Paso's not the most youthful of teams in this conference.
No.
So is the season, are the number of games potentially getting to them as we come into the final full month of the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, when you've got guys like Richie Ryan, who's probably the best defensive midfielder in the league, but at the same time, one of the most senior players in the league. And it can have a lot to do with it, you know, and this is where managing legs down the stretch is very important. You don't want to lose momentum. You don't want to lose your sharpness, but sometimes you've got to hold senior players back and limit their minutes to make sure that they are ready to put in, you know, 3-4 great games back to back, putting in full 90s in the playoffs if you want to reach the championship.
Well, just 3 shots so far in the second half as Gallegos will take the run here on Ryden. Gallegos into the box, clips into the back post, looking for PC, and it was Tete to get on it. PC puts it across the face, a goal on the athletic move. And Gallegos unable to fight for it. And Weehan out of the pack.
I give a lot of kudos to the medical staff and coaching staff, the fitness coaches, Sean Arders. You know, when you talk about PC, how he had so many injuries early, and then they brought him back slowly, building his minutes. And I'm looking at some of his runs tonight.
Here's Weehan with the opportunity that's blocked, and Weehan wanted the handball on Tainer. Tainer fired up for the defensive play over there as it falls harmlessly to Matt Cardoni.
But PC playing in this left midfield role where you don't have a covering left back, I've seen him make, you know, numerous runs that are 30, 40, 50 yards to get back. And then you see this acrobatics that is showing confidence in his body, that they've done a great job bringing him back, and he's certainly putting in a tremendous effort tonight to show that he's ready and rearing for what's to come.
2 subs getting set to come on, both for New Mexico. Trey Lassane might going to force Alan Marcina's hand here a little bit as this match goes along, because Suggs and Salim Muhammad getting set to come on here as PC puts it into the box. Ryden gets up to it first. Rivas unable to connect there with Azira. Lindley to Epps, too heavy there. Flicked along and out of danger momentarily as Duplan will control.
Yeah, sometimes these games are a bit of a chess match.
That's off of Epps, and the ball awarded back to Tembakis.
And who can make the first move that starts to change the game? I mean, I would often look at a substitute just because momentum was going against us. And it wasn't that a player out there needed changing, but if I didn't do something to stop the game and get a new injection of energy and the clap of the hands, maybe an idea that he is going to share with the rest of the group before the whistle starts getting things going, these kind of moves are vital in keeping the momentum on the front foot.
Suggs, one of the most decorated players in USL Championship, about to make his 221st appearance in USL play. It'll be his 63rd with New Mexico. He's one of the best left wing backs that we've seen in this game, although ironically he's been playing more on the right side here the last few matches. He'll come on for Najem here in the 66th minute, and then Salim Muhammad will come on for Sergio Rivas. Muhammad just reacquired as well by New Mexico after beginning the season with the expansion franchise Oakland Roots to start the year. Muhammad will make his 8th appearance and his 3rd coming back since rejoining New Mexico.
Yeah, and you just saw Najem come off the game, had a good game. I was fascinated in reading his story about playing for the Afghan national team, and you think of what that country has gone, you wonder how is that even possible to have a national team under those world events.
Good run there by Nathan. Tried to slip that one into Gallegos. Epps maintains possession. Gallegos top of the box and blocked back out to Abu. New Mexico now. Careless with the ball. Salim Muhammad's first touch goes awry. Epps gives it a go. Oh, he did not miss by much there. You see Marcus Epps, coach, he's feeling it every time he's got the ball at his feet these days.
He believes he's going to score. He just believes he's going to score. You know, you look at that errant pass, and both of these teams in their passing accuracy have been at the low end of the league. And you can see moments like that, how that can cost a game for you in New Mexico, making a pass just outside their box that gets picked off and turns into a dangerous shot like that. I mean, you can make a case for stats, you know, telling you a lot, but at a moment like that, passing accuracy certainly plays in and is a vital piece of the game.
Almost even in their passes tonight. 299 for New Mexico, 286 San Antonio. Sandoval with the turn. Sandoval! Good save by Cardone. Let it run free momentarily before getting back on top of it.
You can see the striker instincts in Sandoval. A quick turn. Not looking to pass. He's at the 18, winds up and puts a great ball on frame. Good job by Cardone to cover the loose ball back up. And good job by our defenders for looking to cover that as well. You could see we surrounded that whole spot where that ball was loose. It's well done.
Tenari and Lindley both shaken up over there at the far touch line.
Looks like Lindley's got cramps that he's dealing with.
Well, here's Devin Sandoval, the prototypical number 9. Wearing number 9, and off Armando Moreno makes a turn, no hesitation.
Like I said, striker instincts. Shoot for the crowd, shoot to surprise when they don't expect it. But it was well done, good turn, good strike. I worry a little bit about Lindley. This is the second time I've seen him down with a teammate helping him with cramps. And, if those hamstrings are starting to fatigue, you don't want him to be pushed into an injury situation at this point in the year. Just a guy to keep an eye on.
It's quite possible to argue that as Suggs comes forward to make the touch on the ball, and then he's upended by Duplan, and San Antonio will get the ball back. But it's possible to argue that the 3 most important players for SAFC are Lindley, PC, and Abu right now.
Yeah, they are. They're doing great. And of course, we can never leave out the Beard. He's had such a tremendous season, making stop after stop. Really, really good goalkeeping from him this year. To watch his development, and I give so much credit to Juan Lamadrid, the goalkeeper coach who's had him since college days and developed him, through every game he's played here.
New Mexico has been dangerous around the box tonight, but have not necessarily made the most of those opportunities. Gallegos, almost 4 collapse on him as he sneaks that ball through. A little bit of hesitation before Tete gets rid of it.
I think you're exactly right. It's New Mexico has had the better of chances, but just not taken advantage of them. And this may be looking at why they're in this circumstance with such a good quality group. Is maybe that's the case, is they just have not found that finishing form this year.
29 goals has them tied for 21st out of 31 teams in the championship coming into play tonight. 7 fewer than San Antonio, who is 13th with their 36. Still a +1 though, as a team that has defended well this year. 9th in goals conceded at 28.
But their goals forward, and what is it, 29?
29.
So that just, it just kind of tells you that you've got to have one of those numbers much better than the other in order to have it produce results. And when your goals are the same as the goals you've given up,
you're a 500 team.
You're talking 1-point games. You can't build points from that.
You're a 500 team, which is exactly what they are. 8 wins, 8 defeats, 7 draws.
Yeah.
Slight injury as Tenari comes back up the field, allows a quick An official water break. Epps back on the ball. Just taken off the back of his right foot at the last possible moment.
Lucky tackle there.
That should be San Antonio's ball, and it'll be a hard challenge as well. Tenari into the books with a yellow. Going after the feet there of Duplan. Sixth time Tenari's gone into the books this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a yellow. He goes in, you know, stomping, and he turns his back to things, so he's not even in control of his approach there. It's just more of a blatant stomp, and that can be dangerous for the receiving player. So it's.
Well, this is the area of the park here, Coach. You better have your eye on 44 right now if you're New Mexico, because this is where he is dangerous at 6'7".
Yeah. Just have to loft a good ball in there and let him go up and get it. Don't overdrive these balls.
Lindley plays it short, came through. Dangerous sitting there momentarily before it's released forward by United.
Yeah, he's kind of rubbing his head, you know, I think disappointed at the ball that came in, because if you are going to take advantage of Soberg at 6'7", then you've got to get that ball up and past that first line of defenders instead of a driven ball like that. Sometimes we work on trick plays, but it's more about create a good 50-50 to give our guys a fair chance to go up and get it.
Ryden will join Tenari in the books here in the 74th minute for his challenge against Tainer. Tainer, who was in an unusual position up front there, and got his legs taken out from him by Kalen Ryden.
Yeah, that's all legs there. The yellow card clearly appropriate.
And now a very opportunistic set piece for San Antonio. Straight on from about 27, 28 yards out here.
This is one of those you want to drive the ball and make it uncatchable. Even if it's at the keeper, is hit it with enough velocity that the keeper has to knock it down and have your guys crashing looking for that second ball.
If they give it a go, you think it's Nathan. It is Nathan giving it a go, but not even close.
He wasn't shooting against the 7-Eleven behind the stadium there. I mean, you really wish that you could just, you know, forget about trying to score, is put it on frame with some velocity and look for the knockdown. It just has a higher probability you're going to get something out of it.
That's Tembakis with an errant clear. Some gaffes on both sides here as we come into the final quarter hour. And again, bring this up as Nathan tries to get forward. SAFC has yet to play in a 0-0 match this season. They've gone 24 matches. There's been a goal scored in all 24 of them to this point.
Well, you get to this point in the game, and sometimes games are decided by which team is going to switch off for a second. And when you see these little mishaps, one by each team in the same frame of time, you start to believe that some guys are starting to switch off just a little bit. Fatigue is coming into it. Concentration or lack of is coming into it. And you just cannot switch off. You've got to be so alert and concentrate so hard at this point to overcome fatigue and other issues.
Weehan has him and Sandoval Moreno. We're all getting forward. Now it's Tenari.
You see in the box them hovering around Sandoval. You know, that two defenders right on his back, not giving it any time.
That opened up the seam for Moreno. He took it, and then Lindley steps in front of the pass. Kind of the counter the other way with Epps. Epps, harmless cross, lands to Tembakis.
This goes back to the stat I just mentioned a few minutes ago, is passing accuracy. There was no pressure on the New Mexico player playing that pass. And it was not a difficult pass. There wasn't high risk to it. So to give balls like that away that turn in to suddenly PC on the counterattack and Epps flying forward, those kind of mishaps are going to cost you the game eventually.
Justin Dillon will come into the match momentarily here for San Antonio, and looks like
Lindley, yeah.
Lindley is down on the pitch again.
Really believe they need to make a change here, because that's been 3 times I've seen him go down, and like I said, you cannot, you lose your hamstring in a game like this because you're pushed too far, the season's over for you. And he is so vital to the success of this season that get him off, get him the therapy he needs, sit him a game, and make sure he's ready 100% to go, in the same way that they did PC in making his comeback from injury. Don't risk the injury at this point. You got other guys who can do that job in there.
Well,
I mean, you look
it
at
may be surprising, Coach, but it's Epps right now who is slated to come off here with 13 minutes and change to go.
Well, it's, you know, you've got more subs, but you got to get and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Dillon coming in, although Epps has been the most effective attacker all night in helping to set up players as well as getting his own shots off. But it's, to me, Lindley. You've got PC, you can slide inside for Lindley, which is a natural move for him, and bring in someone like Lima who can play the outside, and now you don't risk anything.
On the other side, Tenari will come out, and Isidro Martinez, the former RGV Toro, split a lot of matches here at Toyota Field, will come on for his 23rd appearance this season. Yeah, that's the one area, when you look at Lindley, PC, and Abu right now, that's the one area where SAFC is lacking a little bit of depth here as they come down the stretch of the season. They don't have a lot of guys that can go in and play those midfield roles as effectively as those 3 right now.
No, I would agree with you. I mean, you have 2 spots, and we've got 3 players. So if there's an injury to one, or there's a card accumulation like there just was with Abu, then we don't have any depth to fill in that role.
You mentioned Lemma. He's an ideal candidate that if you wanted to slide PC, to your point, back to the inside, take Lindley out, Lemma could certainly fill the outside role.
Right.
As you look at the SAFC subs, but it's a young group of subs. You see Ali Wright and Leo Torres not in the 18 tonight, but Shannon Hopiau, Joaquin Varela, some of the other names. Most nights SAFC lives and lately they've been living, I should say, with their starting 11 that's gone out and gotten the job done.
Right. No question about that. But you've got Gleedle coming back.
And that'll help for sure.
That will. Gives you a great engine and intelligent player. And, you know, I would say if you really got into a bind, a guy like Epps can always drop backs, particularly if you end up with someone like Patino, you know, getting retooled and ready to put in minutes again up top. But you're going to have to improvise. That's why LaPlane, when you mentioned that he played at a different position the other night, it's some of the experimenting that still is going on to say, if we get in this scenario or that scenario, who can we slide in, even if it's for the rest of that game. And then you have to, again, as always, be a little bit lucky that you don't incur major injuries at this point of the year. Because any kind of injury at this point of the year, your season's done. You're not coming back. So.
Final 10 minutes, 0-0. And in a match where we felt there were going to be goals abound, and maybe those are the matches that end up 0-0, where you think you should have 4 or 5 and you don't get any.
Well, I remember last game, Dan, I said this is going to be a 1-goal game, and as it turns out, it was. In this game, I'm looking at halftime and thinking, this has got to have a basket full of goals, and we're not getting it. It's really, really surprising, because there have been some great approaches and great shots.
Into the box, New Mexico can't get a handball. Muhammad settles, Suggs. Azira, Salih Muhammad, turning it out wide. Isidro Martinez, low cross into the box, gets around PC, another low cross. That's defended well by SAFC. And now they can try to counter here with Gallegos out on the far touchline.
Great layoff by Dillon there.
Oh, Nathan just momentarily delayed the run. Gallegos trying to thread the needle.
Yeah, but that's the opportunity we've been talking about, that quick counter, catch New Mexico, overcommitted forward, And that was it, just too much pace on the ball by Gallegos. But the run was there and the opportunity was there, and playing that ball was the right ball to play. Just needed to take a little bit off of it.
Tete looks in Weehan's direction. Schubert climbs the ladder. Martinez, he's got an open Moreno. Moreno offside anyway.
Well, I mean, looking at these last 10 minutes, even though both teams are running at the opponent's goal, I feel like New Mexico is the most settled right now. They seem to get the possession, their build-up, they're setting up camp around the 18. Hasn't translated into a shot, but it just seems that way.
If you and I weren't here doing the game and I'm watching this, I would have said New Mexico is the home team and SAFC is playing like the road team
It
tonight.
really does. It really does. And that's maybe from having so many road games is we've turned into the road team, even at home. And you asked earlier in the broadcast, how does that affect, teams? And maybe we're seeing a little bit of that tonight. It's just getting comfortable at home again after playing so many road games. It takes a match or two.
It's a good win on the ball for San Antonio. There's Nathan. Runs on Azira into the box. Unfortunately, not much productive there.
No, has to do better with that.
Sandoval, Weehan, switch the play to Moreno as he runs on Maloney. Amando Moreno. Oh, slips a beautiful ball in. It's Weehan! And late in the match, in the 84th minute, it's as if he wrote his script from last season in the playoffs. Chris Weehan has done it again for New Mexico at Toyota Field.
That was a great run, and unfortunately our midfielders and defenders did not pick it up. Moreno does a great job holding it, a little bit lucky on the pass, but Weehan runs between defenders. Midfielders should have picked that up. Two center backs have to squeeze that space, that channel in between when they see the run coming. It's like we saw the danger but didn't do anything about it.
There will be no 0-0 match at Toyota Field tonight, and Weehan, number 8 on the season and his 4th goal in 7 matches since returning to New Mexico. He did it last year in the 101st minute. He gets it 17 minutes ahead of that here tonight. That is the first goal in 90-minute regulation time for New Mexico here at Toyota Field.
It's a San Antonio killer right there. I mean, he's hurt us bad in these matches and late in the game where there's so little time to do anything about it, to rebound from it. This is going to be something to show you're playoff ready, that when we play New Mexico again, it's going to be about making sure that player has no opportunity to goal. You have to prove that as defenders and midfielders to make sure that you're not going to give a guy who has hurt you twice now so badly any opportunity to hurt you again.
We said New Mexico, if they were going to make a push up the Mountain Division table, they would really have to come into Toyota Field and take all 3 points tonight. They had not won a road match since July the 3rd when they won at Salt Lake City. And now sitting on a 1-0 lead and 3 points here as we come into the final 5 minutes. Shannon Hopiau coming over to the table for San Antonio. This ball into the box. Dillon getting up, punched away by Tembakis. And Sandoval with a clearance upfield. Tainer losing it.
You can always, Dan, I've been on the sideline, 60,000 people, second guessing everything you're doing. That's just the life of a coach. But I look at a game like this, 0-0, knowing that you must get a goal. And I'm just very surprised with the way Epps was playing, that he's the guy that comes off.
Connor Maloney is off for Shannon Hopiau. Hopiau makes his 9th appearance. Take a look at the Mountain Division table here right now. This is right now the live table. Colorado Springs at 43 points. San Antonio at 40. New Mexico would get to 34 with a win and would jump RGV and would all of a sudden be only 2 below the playoff line occupied by Austin Bull. And you talk about a talk about a victory that could change the fortunes of your season. We saw that with San Antonio with their win against El Paso here. I mean, this could be that type of win for New Mexico if they can hang on in the final minutes.
Easily could, and a dangerous team to sneak into the playoffs.
Especially just with the experience.
Right.
And the familiarity.
Right. You know, as we mentioned before, it's about peaking at the right time. And not to say that New Mexico has peaked, but a win like tonight can propel you to that. I mean, look at Austin being out of the playoff picture and suddenly a coaching change. And they go consecutive victories, and now they're back in the playoff picture. Even though they fell short tonight, it's still a game changer, momentum changer. And I can see that happening very easily with the confidence they'd come out of here if they finish this game with 3 points to take home.
Colorado Springs wins it 3-1 tonight at Widener Field over Austin Bold. Tack on yet another. Well, RGV, I was about to say, was headed for another disappointment against Atlanta, and then all of a sudden they come back with 2 goals and now late lead it 3-2 over Atlanta United 2. So, should both results hold, they would creep closer, RGV and New Mexico, but New Mexico would still stay in the 6th position in the table. That'd be a big win for RGV, even though it's an expected one against below 500 Atlanta United 2 club coming to HEB Park.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's been one of the teams that have surprised me most is RGV clearly looked like the top team in our division at the beginning of the year. And how they have taken this slide that you just didn't think was going to stop. So it's good maybe they're back on track here a little bit.
Sandoval just drives one forward. Connor Maloney, we're told, went right back to the locker room. You saw him holding his back as he came out for Shandon Hopiau. This is the last thing that San Antonio obviously needs at this point is yet another injury, and again to another key piece like Connor Maloney here at this stage of the season. You were talking about you get a significant injury at this point of the season, you may not see the rest of the season.
Right, you know, it looks like he was holding his lower back. That can be very challenging to get your body comfortable with a lower back strain, if that's what it is, or maybe he took a knee or a knock there, but clearly not an easy injury to overcome easily.
Martinez dispossessed. An errant ball, however. The good news is that, again, we mentioned earlier in the broadcast that Sam Gleadle went through a full workout before tonight's match, and if Connor Maloney for some reason couldn't go next week, Sam Gleadle is a perfect replacement to go into his spot on the right side outside.
You could not pick a more ideal candidate for that. And, you know, this comes down to every sport, every team saying next man up. And that's just what we're seeing here is if Maloney struggles for a week, as Gleadle can step right in and the team won't miss a beat. And also you should have Ford back, you know, to step back into the center back position and give coach choices there. So that's going to be a plus, because not only has he and Tainer been outstanding as a partnership defending, but I mean he's gotten 2 goals off of free kicks, and which we can't say that about our other defenders. So he's made a mark and shows that he can affect the game not just offensively but in the win column.
You see 3 minutes added time here at the end of the second half, so not much for SAFC here if they can mount an equalizer. Pretty clean match across the board tonight. But right now it's Weehan who did it in the 2020 postseason here at Toyota Field. He's done it again tonight and has New Mexico right now in the driver's seat potentially to take all 3.
Yeah, he's done great. And quite honestly, I mean, with Sandoval out there that works as the big target for guys like Weehan and Moreno to run underneath and off of, and knowing that Sandoval finds himself in the box looking for a service, but those guys, very much like Epps and Gallegos, I mean, we're shaped a little bit the same. I mean, Nathan's not quite the same type of player as Sandoval, but it's that 3-point attack that New Mexico's got. And it's a question of who gets hot this time of year.
Suggs errant on the header will give San Antonio a corner here at the death. It's only their second corner of the night. As Lindley goes over to take it.
Yeah, I think 2 corners is too few for a 90-minute game. But the way we play, attacking more centrally rather than wide, just kind of creates that non-winger type game where most of the time you get your corners from the wide play.
And it's been an off night for Cam Lindley when it comes to set pieces. And
It
I don't know
has.
if it's perhaps something with a lower body that might be bothering him, but we see him deliver some of the crispest services.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as a coach, you want to have complete confidence in the guys you've asked to do the job and have proven they can do it before. But if you get a couple of services that are way off, which those have been, and you've got a guy like PC out there, you say, hey, let's switch this up tonight. And Lindley just, you know, we'll work on it this week.
30 seconds or so remaining here for San Antonio. PC floats one into the box. Suggs went up for it. Schuberg off Moreno. No, they say play on. Moreno just boots it forward. Weehan is offside here, but SAFC is down to their last gasp.
Here comes back to service now. They need a good ball in there. They've got Soberg in.
Schuberg flicks it along. It's a chance, but it's a foul. Inside on Nathan, and that should just about wrap it up here tonight. Tembakis in no hurry. It was San Antonio going to Sacramento and winning for the first time there in their history last Saturday. Tonight it is New Mexico who comes to San Antonio and scores their first goal in league play at Toyota Field and gets their first win ever in league play here at Toyota Field after winning in the postseason on Chris Weehan's goal in the 101st minute last October. It's Weehan in the 84th minute with a lone goal tonight and a massive 3 points for New Mexico, who gets their first road win since July.
We're going to see a lot of finishing this week because the chances were there. I always feel like the health of how you played in a given night is about what kind of dangerous chances did you create. I think they created ample opportunities both on crosses, direct play, breakaway, and just unfortunate not to finish. And that could still be a little bit weary from the road. So hopefully they get a lot of action in front of the net this week in training, and some of those opportunities go in next week.
We'll go right back out on the road, Coach, for 2 more after this match here. San Antonio falls tonight 1-0. They're headed to Oklahoma City October 3rd, 5 o'clock. And watch it on ESPN Plus. For more information, go to sanantoniofc.com. Now for the head coach, Tim Hankinson, Hayden Partain, our entire crew, I'm Dan Weiss saying so long. Your final, New Mexico United 1, SAFC 0. This has been a presentation of Spurs Sports Entertainment of the USL Championship. So long, everybody.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.
left ear on it. Are you there? I'm on the spare headset right now. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I'm on spare headset. Yes, I got you. I got you in my left ear. That's it, one ear. Okay.